Golang, TypeScript, Python, and Rust, the big four. What are they used for and why? Today I want to answer that question by breaking each one of them down. Stick around to the end to see how these can be used together to architect a SaaS app and the role that each one serves. So starting off strong with everyone's favorite, TypeScript. TypeScript has become so incredibly ubiquitous these days that I have even seen a TensorFlow package written in TypeScript. They are trying to write machine learning applications in TypeScript. Blows my mind, but they are. And I want to show you what it's actually used for. So TypeScript is for front-end web apps and light servers. So a light backend that's typically run in a serverless environment that handles reading and writing out of a database, user authentication, payments, the sort of day-to-day stuff that isn't too heavy on the compute end and doesn't require any fancy multi-threading or big calls or data analysis or that sort of thing. So the pros of TypeScript are very simple. It's the king of front-end web apps. The web runs on JavaScript, and TypeScript compiles directly into JavaScript. It works beautifully. It has a great DX, and it has tons and tons of very well-supported frameworks. Next.js, Nuxt.js, SvelteKit, Solid, and many, many more. And they just keep getting better. Every single year, every single day, new features are announced, new stuff is added. Go check out Next.js 13. It's insane. The web is constantly improving, and it's improving in JavaScript land. So it's a great option for simple backend services as well. As I said, payments, user auth, that sort of thing, the sort of stuff that you could comfortably put into a serverless environment, TypeScript is a great fit. It's very easy to write, and the sort of flow of writing your front and back end in the same language is great. And a lot of JavaScript frameworks these days do include a backend because they're full stack. Next.js, Nuxt.js, SvelteKit, all three of these include a server component to them where you can do database calls, do backend work in the same project as your front end, which is a great workflow that I highly recommend for most, certainly when you're starting out and certainly when you're starting to build up your company's app. And then, of course, as I said, business logic, fantastic. But then we get into the cons, and the reason why it's not used for literally everything and why we need to stop and not JavaScript does not need to do machine learning is it is extremely, extremely slow compared to other languages, obviously. It runs pretty fast and it works well for the web, and obviously these web apps run fast, but if you're trying to do massive computations, if you need to do huge database reads and you need to do a bunch of stuff on that data and then send it back, it's going to get really slow. And also if you try and send 1,000 requests to a node server, that node server is not going to be able to handle those requests nearly as well as a Rust server or a Go server or something like that. And then, of course, it's single-threaded. JavaScript runs on what's called the event loop, and only one thing can be executing at a time, which leads to the fact that you kind of have to do everything in this async await promises sort of syntax, and you can't be doing multiple database calls at once. You can't speed up your app by adding concurrency, and in the front end, that doesn't matter, but for the back end, that becomes a huge issue, which leads us to our next language, Go. Go is for high-performance backend servers. It is, in my opinion, the single best language for writing your backend in 2022. The packages are phenomenal. The DX is phenomenal. The support is growing every day, and the language is constantly gaining new features. It is so easy to write. It is so fast. The concurrency is so easy. It's just a no-brainer. For a high-performance backend that needs to do more complicated logic than just reading and writing out of a user's table or adding and subtracting to-dos from a to-dos table, Go is the best thing to pick. It is what my company uses for all of our complicated backend logic. It's what we use for our form fetching and parsing, which requires a lot of concurrency because we have several different tables, we have several completely unrelated data sets that need to be brought together, aggregated together, and then sent down to the user. And Golang does this beautifully. We can run massive queries and massive amounts of data over hundreds of thousands of points in milliseconds because of the incredible concurrency model that Go provides. Now, getting into the cons, and the reason why this isn't some silver bullet for everything is that Go doesn't have many opinions. And this is a huge debate within those who write Go, but it doesn't really have any, how do I put this? It doesn't give you many high-level abstractions, and it kind of just lets you write everything yourself, which is really good and really bad at the same time. In Go, there is no built-in sort function. There is no built-in standardized way of doing concurrency other than you get Go routines, you get channels, and then you kind of just have to figure it out from there. You have to come up with everything yourself, which is good, but at the same time, you can shoot yourself in the foot really easily. And it also lacks the packages and support that something like TypeScript or Python has. Go is relatively new compared to a lot of these languages, and while it's constantly growing and it's constantly gaining new things, you're not going to see something at the scale of NextConf and Next.js 13. That does not exist for Go yet. It has great backing, and I think it's growing, and I think that someday we will get those truly incredible frameworks and be driving truly incredible innovation in there, but it's not there yet. And it's still growing, and it's still in a sort of, I would argue, early adopter sort of phase. A lot of companies have brought it in, but a lot of companies haven't. And it's also not the most common thing in the world, so it's going to be harder to find a job in the Go sphere or something like that. But getting into something that will have a lot of jobs and a lot of different, and a lot of, getting into something that will have a lot of jobs and a lot of support, Python. Python is the silver bullet for machine learning and data science. There is a reason why everyone who wants to get into AI and everyone who wants to get into programming starts with Python. It's insanely easy to write, it's extremely easy to understand, and it works really, really well. It's the best language for machine learning, and the reason for that is because of all the incredible libraries that have been built into Python that were all written in C. Python does this cool thing where it itself is extraordinarily slow. Try running a for loop over a couple million entries in Python and watch how slow it is. Watch how bad that performance is. It's not going to work. But it works really well when you can just call array.average in NumPy or whatever, and then that will then call down into a C function, which will then handle that for you. So you get the ease of use and speed of writing high-level code and with easy abstractions, with the performance of these low-level insane implementations, which would be torture to actually write out. So Python is what you want to be using for ML and data science. Massive community, great support, it's a battle-tested language, and it's very easy to learn, which can't be overstated. The next language we're going to talk about is not so easy to understand, and that would be Rust. Rust is the last language I hear talked about all the time these days, and it's a kind of tricky one. Rust is not necessarily new, but its adoption is sort of happening as we speak. Recently, Rust was introduced into the Linux kernel, which is a huge step forward for Rust and means that it has a bright future, and I think in 50 years, Rust will still be a pillar that we're all looking at. JavaScript, I don't know. Rust, I do think, will stand the test of time, and the reason for that is because it's different from the rest of them. Rust is basically as fast as C. I think I saw on a benchmark, don't quote me on this, I think it was like 1.1 times the speed of C, which is ridiculous, and it has extreme memory safety. C, you are going to constantly be running into segfaults, memory errors, all this obnoxious crap. Rust, you're never going to get that because it has a really well-written compiler that will help you along writing the code, and if you do it right and you ship it, you should virtually never have any bugs. It's truly memory safe. It has excellent packages, and it has really, really good syntax for CLI apps. One of the biggest things I see Rust being recommended for these days is to actually use it for CLI apps, and that's what I'm going to recommend for the diagram I'm about to show you. But when we get into Rust, and the reason why I wouldn't recommend it for your backend servers yet is because Rust has an insanely brutal learning curve. Rust is not intuitive. It is not anything like C. It is not anything like Go or TypeScript or Python. It's very different from anything you've seen before because of the borrow checker and the memory management system. I am currently working on learning Rust and I want to learn it, but it's very hard and it's very different. You have to kind of unlearn these sort of things that you've gotten used to using in other languages and adopt new patterns, better patterns, but new patterns. And another issue that comes with said brutal learning curve is there are very few qualified developers and very low adoption. I have not heard of too many big companies and big apps actually using Rust outside of a few. It is gaining popularity and I'm seeing it more and more, but it's very much an up-and-coming thing that I would not invest your backend into when Go exists, and the two can get... The performance between the two is effectively a wash as far as web server goes right now. So the ease of use of Go massively outweighs the potential performance gain of Rust. So finally, the last thing I want to show you is a kind of example of how I would use all of these together. What I've architected here is an extremely rough example of what a potential hosting provider could look like. This is what, if you're trying to clone Railway or Heroku or something like this is what it could look like underneath the hood, and this is sort of how I would at least start architecting it, and then you sort of expand from there. So the first building block would be our web app, which would be written in Next, Nux, whatever your choice is. So this would be written in TypeScript. This is what the end user will see when they go to your web page, what they'll interact with, which will then connect up to our user and payment server. This will handle our authentication, our payments, our user data, our user settings, all that sort of stuff is all handled up here, and it's handled in TypeScript. Because these two will link really well together, because the way I would do this is I would have a Next app that encompasses both of these. So this user and payment server is written in TypeScript, and it's the Next backend. And then this little link like right here would probably be TRPC. And then that goes down to your web app, which is also written in TypeScript, which will then take that data, display it to the user, manage it, all that sort of stuff. But then we have this next piece here, and this is the server instance and management thing. So if you had a hosting provider, you would need to be able to spin up and spin down instances of massive Docker containers, K8s, all that stuff, built on top of one of the big three bottom-level hosting providers, AWS, GCP, or Azure. And I would use Golang to manage that. That's something where you're going to need to be able to do pretty high performance computations, and where speed is really going to matter, and where you're going to need more fine-grained control over your language than you're going to get with something like TypeScript. TypeScript is, for lack of a better words, a flimsier language. It can than Go is, or any of these others. It can be very solid, and TypeScript has helped with that immensely, but Go is still a more solid language, and it's still going to be a much better choice for when you're managing these big instances and managing these servers, scaling them, that sort of thing. Which then leads to this next thing, which is the CLI app. Very commonly, these hosting providers will have a terminal that the devs can download to then work with. Like, I think Railway has one where you can just type Railway up, and it'll deploy your current directory to their servers. It's a great feature, and it's something that most SaaS companies that are dev-focused have these days. So I would write that CLI in Rust. The CLI apps in Rust are fantastic, really easy to write, really easy to use and understand, really high performance, feels great. Put it in Rust, and then that will then have to communicate with our server instance to then, when we send something up, it'll need to provision that instance, and it'll also need to say, okay, this user now has another instance provisioned. Then finally, the Python implementation would be for the backend analytics and scaling. So some of these platforms provide automatic scaling, where you could say, okay, if I have this many users starting to trend up, you can look at that and be like, okay, you're probably going to need to scale up. We're going to use our auto-scaling algorithms to detect that, then tell the server instance, hey, you need to scale up bucket B by 10x. It'll scale up by 10x, and then when the thread is gone, this will say, okay, you're good now. It'll scale it back down to 1. This is where the auto-scaling comes in. And that would need to probably be a machine learning implementation or some data science algorithm, which Python is the perfect tool for. So in the end, you end up with this sort of monolith that is effectively how I would architect a SaaS, and it's very similar to how I architected mine. This is how Insider Viz is architected, minus these two. We don't use Python because we haven't done any AI implementations yet, and we don't have a CLI app, so we don't have Rust, but our backend server, which handles our data, all in Go. Our user and payments, all in TypeScript. Our web app, all in TypeScript. So yeah, if this was helpful, do the thing, and have a great day. I will see you later.